Today on Shop Tool Reviews, baby saws. And are you the father? No, I'm just kidding. We're going to look at this new DeWalt 5 3/8 inch circular saw in just a moment. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tool Reviews. This is one of DeWalt's XTREME 12-volt tools. Now they've rolled out several of these tools and there's quite a bit of excitement out there because they've got 12-volt tools that are doing the work of bigger tools. So that may be the case with this 5 3/8 inch saw, but this is a tiny saw. Again, running on their 12-volt platform. Specifically, it's got the 5 amp hour battery here that we paired it with, but it comes as a bare tool. As I mentioned, a 5 3/8 inch blade, so not a huge blade. So right away, you got to look at it and say, you know what, you're not going to do a ton of work with it as far as size-wise, and that is correct. There's only so much you can do with a 5 3/8 inch blade, but we can still cut through 2x material. In fact, before I get into too many more details, let's actually dive in, take a closer look at these features like we typically do. Then we're going to actually push this thing on some different sheet goods as well as some 2x material. We'll even do some bevel cuts. Then we'll come back and wrap it up with price, warranty, and what we think of this. This is DeWalt's new DCS512, and it's their 12-volt XTREME 5 3/8 circular saw. Really handy saw. At least I think it's going to be a very handy saw. Very small, as you can see the size of my hand. I can almost swallow this entire saw, no problem whatsoever. It runs on their 12-volt platform. I believe the preferred battery for this is the 5 amp hour. Even though it doesn't come as a kit, at least as of yet, I think they're recommending to pair it with the 5 amp hour battery to get your maximum runtime. Brushless tool, again, running on the 12-volt platform, but still supposed to be able to cut some pretty deep stuff, so we will see. Now, maximum depth of cut is, I believe, 1 7/8 or 1 3/4 inch. 1 3/4 max depth at 90 degrees, and then at 45 degrees, max is then down to 1 1/4 inch. You can't cut 2x material at a 45, but 90 is not going to be a problem whatsoever. Now you get up to 50 degrees of bevel, which you can see here on the saw. I can easily toolless flip that, turn this all the way to 50 degrees, and I get both a reading on the die-cast aluminum shoe here. So the base plate is die-cast aluminum, and then this is steel here. So we have a reading here on this gauge as well as down here on the cast aluminum as well. So we can easily, without any tools, be able to set the bevel that we want here. Easy indicator to read right there. So I can set it at my 45, clamp it down, and then I'm good to go. Loosen it up, set it back to 0, and then I'm ready to make my square cuts again. Now to set depth, again, toolless. So right here on the back of this lever, we can flip that up, and now we can set our depth of cut at 0 or all the way down to the full 1 3/4 inch. Now it is a little bit difficult to read because the indicator is kind of tucked right here inside the saw, which is not too atypical on circ saws. But you can easily, you can look up under it and easily find the mark and see. I can set it, okay, there's my 1.5 inches, and clamp it down, and now I'm ready to make my cuts. Right here on the back of the tool, we have the Allen wrench, and it clips there in the back, and then we can actually remove and replace our blade if we need to. Just remember, this is a blade left saw, so that means on a blade left, our screw for the arbor is always going to be reverse thread. So you've got an arbor lock right here on the saw, so no tool needed to hold that. So once we hold that, and then we don't loosen, because that loosening is tightening, right? So we're going to come down like righty-tighty, but that's going to back that Allen head out, and we can remove that blade. So lefty-tighty on this one, righty-loosey. On any of your blade left saws, they should be that way. And then we can tuck our Allen wrench back in here, and now we're ready for cutting. We also have dust extraction back here on the back of the saw. So right here, we're ready to go. And also, if you want to hook some dust extraction up to it, so that's basically going to be your ejection port where it's going to be shooting that dust out. However, if you want to capture that, you can clip that on, and it clips on pretty firmly, and then you have a couple of screws that you can add as well to lock that in place, and now you can hook your hose up to it, which, by the way, on that rear port there, I believe internal dimensions is 1.25 inches and external is right at 1.5, and then you can also use the DeWalt attachments to clip on there also. So you can do dust extraction, or you can just let it eject the dust out the back of the saw. Probably be using it without dust extraction, I would assume, just by the typical nature of what the saw is, and I would think it would be more of a kind of punch list item type of saw, getting things done. We also have an edge tool here, so we can set this in here. And we've got a little thumb screw. Loosen this up. And so now we can set how much we want to cut, lock the thumb screw down, and then be able to do some rip cuts on the, whether it's sheet goods or 2x material, 1x material, doing faces, whatever it is you need to do, and use it that way as well. And then easily just loosen the thumb screw, pull that out. And by the way, there's also markings here on your edge tool in both centimeter, I believe, yeah, centimeters and inches. So up to 7 inches or 17 centimeters. Now, RPMs on this saw on the blade is going to be 3,600 no-load RPMs from the brushless motor. And also, when you're dealing with a blade this size, your arbor size on this is 3/8. So you have a 3/8 inch arbor. So when you go to replace blades, you're going to need to know 3/8 arbor and 5 3/8 blade, which probably most of your 5 3/8 blades are going to have that 3/8 arbor anyway. You also get an electronic brake on this saw. Throw the battery in there, and we'll see here. So almost instantaneous, since there's not a lot of rotating mass here, it can stop that blade pretty quick. 1,000, yeah, so not even 1 second, and it's stopping that blade. You also have a trigger lock up here. Ergonomics pretty typical on all your DeWalt power tools. The handle looks pretty much the same whether you're holding a impact driver, a drill, their bandsaw, in this case the circular saw. Same kind of comfortable grip, that same ergonomic design that DeWalt's got on just about everything of their power tools anyway. And then as far as size, oh, by the way, you also get a rafter hook. So, if you're working on a ladder or working near rafters, floor joists, what have you, you can hang that up or hang it on your ladder if you need to, hang it on a 2x4, whatever it is, your rafter hook's right there, and tucks away pretty nicely as well. You also get that secondary handle for the saw, even though, as I mentioned, this saw is pretty small. In fact, let's take a look at that. Even from the front of the shoe all the way back to the back corner of the battery is about 14 inches. And from the base plate tall, you're looking at about 7.5 inches, a little less than 7.5 inches. So again, very small saw here. And then width-wise, I don't know, you're looking at about a 6-inch wide saw as well. Now let's get a weight on this with the 5 amp hour battery. So with the 5 amp hour, 5 pounds, 12 ounces, so 5 3/4 pounds. Not bad whatsoever. So very easy to handle, nice and compact, as well as not very heavy. So carrying that around is going to be a breeze. Let's take this over, do some rip cuts. We'll also do some cross cuts and put some bevels on it as well and see how well it does. What we have here is a 2x6 by, I think it's 8 or 10 feet long, piece of pine. I'm going to do a rip cut, maybe cut off an inch or so of this. See how well it does. I've got the depth set at max, obviously for inch and a half 2x4. We're going to have it set at 1 3/4. So you can see here, we are dropping below deck a good 1/4 inch anyway. So let's go ahead and rip this, see how well it does. We do have a full battery, by the way. So we're going to run that same cut again. I definitely noticed it bog a little bit when we would hit these knots. It will cut it, but again, at full depth, it is, I shouldn't say struggling, but you can't just push this as hard as you want to by any means. Now I will say that it's ejecting the large majority of the sawdust out the back of the saw, out the actual port here. And if we had our dust extraction hooked up, we could be evacuating most of that. So very little is being flung up here or even out sideways on me. The majority of it is shooting right out the back of the saw. I love to see that. Looks like we got a flashing LED that may be trying to tell us something. Not sure exactly, but that definitely tells me something's happening because we still have a full battery. Okay, what I did is I just ran the saw like this for a few seconds, and then that light stopped flashing. So I'm assuming that's maybe kind of an overheat where it's recognizing it's heating up and giving that flashing light. So just running it under no load. Seems to clear that, and now it's not flashing anymore. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of rip cuts across here, kind of not really rapid, but just kind of some quick, repetitious stuff that you may do on a job site and see how well it does. So again, you can't really push this saw hard, but if you let it run its course, it will cut through even the knots. Make a few more cross cuts here. Let's see. Yeah, we're down to 2 cells now. I really think this is where this saw is going to shine here. I've got some 3/4 inch plywood on here. So making these types of cuts, the size saw this is going to be perfect for doing these types of small cuts, things like that. I could see this as kind of punch list item stuff, small stuff, but mainly sheet goods, small cross cuts. Again, that handiness of that small saw, but still have the power to make these rips. Let's see. Now I've added my, my edge tool here so we can follow the edge at whatever width we set it. Throw my battery in here, and I'm going to put the dust extraction port on there and put the screws in here. And we'll make a couple of cuts with just the port on there, and then we will grab the dust extractor and pull some vacuum on it and see what the difference is. All right, here we go. I I've really now choked off anything much that's coming out of this port now, because it's kind of blocked it. So we need that vacuum on there. Right now it's just kind of dump it out the side of the saw. We'll make another cut here. You can see it's ejecting right back here, kind of shooting it out and around the saw blade. Okay, so I'm going to take my extractor hose, insert it in the middle there, and then we'll see if we can pull that dust out. You know, I don't think that was really fair because we had a lot of dust up here on the board, so let's clear this off. Now let's see. So we have a little that's coming out the front, but it's really capturing the large majority of that dust. So the edge tool works really well, very easy to use, but then again, you know, if you're marking your lines, it's easy to see on this saw with that blade left design, especially if you're right-handed. Dust port works fairly well. I really think it ejects very, very well just without the dust port, but then again, if you're inside or wanting to keep a dust-free environment, then you may want to hook up that dust extractor. And I would say we're picking up 95% of the dust. We've got kind of 5–10% of residual flying around the blade and out front, but still for this size of saw, this type of saw, I think is doing very well. All right, and finally, I just wanted to see how well it would do with some hardwood. I've got some oak clamped up right here, so just make a rip cut or two in this oak just to make sure it's going to do the work, and I believe it will. I think this is true 3/4 inch, so let's see here. Yeah, no problem. Nice cut through there. And I'm going to do a bevel cut as well, so we'll set this at 45, or why not 50. And for this 3/4 inch plywood, here we go. No problem at all making that cut. Let me set it back at 45. And we'll make another cut. Even cutting through that knot, no problem whatsoever on these sheet goods. I have to give myself a pat on the back because I pretty much nailed it on my first thoughts of this tool. Because when I saw it, I thought, you know what, it's going to have great performance because I know the Xtreme 12V series is starting to do some great things. So I think performance is going to be great. At the same time, I don't think it's going to do everything that a 7-inch plus circular saw is going to do. It's obviously right, and that is the case. Ripping sheet goods, this is going to be a great tool. At the same time, if you're a roofer, ripping 3/4 inch decking material all the time, this is not the tool for you. However, if you're that person that's doing punch list items, or maybe you're doing fascia, one-by material, doing a lot of that, cabinetry work, building, built-in cabinets, things like that, this would be a great tool for that because it's very light, very handy, very nimble tool, and it does have the power to even rip a 2x4 or 2x12 or 2x6, 2x material. it will do that. As you saw when we were hitting knots and things like that, you can't really push it through. It's going to stop. And that one time we kind of overheated it. It was giving us that flashing LED light, but once we cooled it off, it was absolutely fine. In fact, it kept running. You just couldn't push it really hard. But again, back to doing 3/4 inch, even oak, hardwoods, even 1 inch material. This saw is going to be great for that. And price-wise, you're looking at $139 as a bare tool. So it's the DCS512B, which will be your bare tool. So no battery, no charger, $139. Now, I believe it's got a 3-year warranty with that, and you can find them at Lowe's as well as online. This 5 amp hour battery, I think it's going to run you about $79, and then a charger like this, the DCB 115, will run you about $75. So when you add all that up, now you're getting right at that $300 range if you're having to buy a battery, having to buy a charger, and the saw. So that's getting a little steep. However, at the same time, if you have the DeWalt platform, you already have the 12-volt tools, or you're wanting to buy into that kind of extreme series of tools, then $139 is not a bad price whatsoever, and it is very handy. I kind of see this as that mid-torque impact wrench, you know, in the mechanics world or even construction world, where you can do a lot of your work with a lighter tool. Why not, right? Why carry a heavier saw? So anyway, check it out for yourself. Again, it's the DCS512B from DeWalt. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you don't mind, would you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already? And by all means, if you hated our video, give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day and keep smiling.